then you get to your MVP, and then once you get your MVP, you have to know, does it actually, what I perceive to be the market, actually is that the market, and is that how people are actually using it? Because we all think about our product over here, and we're like, wouldn't it be cool if it did this, and did this, and did this, and then we have to make some choice here to go to there. And then over here, maybe we find it's 4, 5, and then we go here, and we think, yeah, it's definitely 4. And we build 4, and we finalize 4, and then we find out it's 6. And then we keep going on. It's like never done.
Yeah, like it has to like keep pivoting. Like every single time you get a little bit new information, you have to pivot again and then try to make that not an expensive pivot.
So how would you define pivot?
For me, the way I've always seen it is if you receive new information about your service or product that suggests that something will work better for it or with it, then you are going to take advantage, you're going to use that information in the generation of a new minimum viable product or service. That would be you pivoting. That's how I've always defined myself.
What else do you think would be to pivot? Justin?
Basically taking the same thing and changing it to in ways that are easy changes to make a substantially different product or service.
Change.
Yeah.
Change. How you perceive it, or what you're doing.
Or how you sell it.
Or how you sell it, or what you do with it, or what people do with it.
Yep.
Do you think that at any time, where does pivot fall in?
Pivot falls anywhere and everywhere. You have to be nimble. Today's market moves fast. You need to live on your feet. You need to move fast. You need to think fast and respond fast.
I think the tricky part is like Yahoo is a good example where, of course, you want to be nimble and you want to be agile, but at the same time you don't want to forget about what your core value is, what your core service. So I mean, when we talk about pivoting and then scaling, like Yahoo is a great example of a company that pivoted, they scaled, but they lost touch with their core values. So now they are a company that really is. It doesn't have any traction in the market like it should.
So let's start with nimble. What do you consider nimble?
Quick.
Responsive.
Responsive. What else?
Adaptable.
I mean, that's one thing. I have an accounting firm. It's not the newest thing in the world, but I'm responsive. But I'm better than anyone else I know at just going with it. And my career has been, until I started my business, it was just absolute chaos because of the recession, et cetera, et cetera. I'm better at going with it than anyone. I mean, even without, not talking about work, hey, I have an opportunity to go to Europe. Boom, I go. And I'm that way with a lot of things. Just life is today. The present matters. Plan for the future, but do the best in the present. So.
Okay. So what do you consider values as you pivot, as you're being nimble? What are the values that you have to? How do you identify those within an organization?
You need to stick to your guns. For instance, my accounting firm. I'm not going to do a poor quality service no matter what. If you don't like that I'm charging you by the hour and I'm taking too long because I'm doing too much details, good. Don't use someone else. That's fine. If you also just values. I mean, you're not going to serve everyone because if people if you don't get along with someone, or if you don't find someone is acceptable, basically, if you don't want your business to be associated with someone, then obviously you shouldn't work with them and stick to your values, even if they have money. I mean, that's been the case a lot, where I'll have a client who has a lot of money, a lot of work, but they just are not someone that I want to associate with.
So what about a product-based business? How would you define their values?
I think it gets a little bit tricky because you have all the different areas that can help you make your product stick out in the market. So you have, do you want really quality customer service? Do you want, great relationship management from your sales team? Do you want to have a real quality product? Does the quality of the product really matter? And then trying to find like the intersections of what intersection do you want to have for your product, and then how do you build a company that allows for those elements to collaborate and to work together.
And I think your values are very much a source of your. I mean, it's one part of a three-word phrase, unique value proposition. So if you value being, super cheap, you should probably stick to that because you're the low-cost leader. Mm-hmm. If you value, being the best in the market, then you stick to that.
So really, what you're saying is that either a service or a product-based business, it's all about your customer, your audience, and how you reach them. Whether it's quality or it's price, who is the person that wants to buy my thing?
Yeah.
Awesome way to say it. But it's like, don't forget about your customer. You're doing everything is for your customer. And I think, like, I was gonna mention something about that when we talk about scaling. It's like, okay, so the two things that I always think of at the beginning and the end of scaling is, one, you have to commit, and that's a lot of people don't consider that, but they have to do. And the other part is, don't forget about your customer. Once you've built your business to be this amazing thing, at the end of the day, the person who's going to pay you and all of your employees is going to be a customer. I love that you wrote audience down there.
Yes, I mean, your whatever these things are and however you interpret them, you have to stick with them at every stage. Otherwise, you're never going to get.
You can't change your business. You pivot what you're doing, but not your entire strategy. You don't go usually from, the quality leader to low cost leader, because that's not an appropriate pivot.
Well, and then values are more like your why, and pivot is how we can do all of this. And then what is the actual purpose of the product of it?
Yeah, I mean, think about Macy's. 10 years ago, they thought they would pivot from being an expensive quality department store into being more like Target or providing a lower cost value proposition. And that didn't work out. Then if you look at a company like JCPenney, where they had a CEO come in a few years back, and he said, okay, we're going to cut out all the low pricing, we're going to cut out all the coupons, we're going to just stick with our guns and go with the pricing. It didn't work. It turned out that their audience said, I just want low pricing. I want to feel like I get a deal, even if I'm really not.
Do you have stories about successful companies? It's like Macy's just closed their Minneapolis location.
That's the point. It's about execution.
I know.
These stages, like these values are important. It's how you do them, like you said. But at the same time, if your audience is who you rely on, you have to deliver what they want. I mean, there's obviously successful ones.
I know.
You don't always hear those stories.
Yes.
But then I think, where do you think the biggest pain point is? So if you're looking at the biggest pain point between idea and MVP, what do you think is the hardest part?
I would say it is between planning and testing. I think there's a huge flaw in the testing your market and planning on your market. I'm a huge naysayer of people don't know how good their product is going to do because they don't know how to do the research, and I think that's so important. I'm actually I want to go to the James J. Hill Library to find out the resources, because they have resources that can find more than Google. And there's a lot of different ways to do your revenue projections and see how your market is, rather than saying, oh yeah, my market is every female from ages 20 to 35. There's more precise ways you can do that, and you can segment your industry based on another industry's numbers. Someone's already done the research of something very similar to what you want, and you can just find it. So.
Yeah, I think it's getting out of your head.
Yes. This, I think, is the hardest.
Okay.
Because I think,
never mind then.
To get from here to here, I know so many people who say, I've got this awesome idea, and they never follow through. or they say, I've got these 15 ideas and I should have done that 5 years ago. If you just take one step, you're doing and you're committed to it, and then you just start. I also think another thing there is when people get stuck too much into the plan, because again, you're not continuing to do. The only way to continue to do and to validate all that research that you've done is to just do it. Get off your ass and do it. And so build something, try to sell it, and get the input. I think this is easier. So I would put this as 1, and I would put this as 2. This is easy. Once you've done it, you get the feedback and you put it there. It's just, you have to make sure, to the point earlier, to not spend too much to get to this part.
Yeah.
Build part, test it, then refix it, and then consider that your MVP and launch. Meanwhile, you can do soft launches. Restaurants do it. Everybody does
Also,
it.
I wonder, like, I don't know, something that I have struggled with in my consulting work is being able to set or define our criteria for success. Because even though you can do a lot of research and you can take a lot, there's a lot of benchmarks, but there are a lot of things that you do that don't have the same criteria as anybody else, and you have to set that yourself. And so how you set that, and so that is, I think that exactly, it goes back to that.
It's doing. It's how forcing yourself to be accountable to yourself.
Yeah.
But I think your point is well taken, that it's how do you define success, and how do you define success at each step.
Yeah.
And I think that's different in every person's mind. And your success isn't always over here, because not every business wants to make $1 million or to take over the world. They just want to pay their bills, or they just want to make the world better, whatever it is. But at the same time, you have to do something to get there.
Yeah, and that can have like a really huge impact on how you build your business model. So I mean, even if you have your product and your service and you've tested it and it works, and you know that this is great and your customers are going to pay for it, like how you're going to sell it, and if you want to have a recurring revenue model, for example, but then it requires this much upkeep and this much maintenance, and then always going up with your customers, and your profit margin is, I don't know, let's say 15% higher, maybe you don't want that, maybe you don't care, and so that's something that, as a consultant, I try to figure that out first, but that's really hard because a lot of people don't know how exactly to define what they see as success. So. And they don't ask for that in business plans usually either, so.
Right, because everybody thinks it's different, and as you get to different stages, it's different. But I think to that point, just doing something isn't always the right answer either. Sometimes it's also about knowing when to stop and knowing the risks and how you feel about them. Because sometimes your success, like you said, isn't money, it's a goal. So looking back and refitting those at some point during the process. So as a lawyer, when I work with clients, I see a lot of them get here and then get stuck there. And then they get overwhelmed with their fees. And so it's sometimes just telling them to document it and be okay with it.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, it's really... The other thing I think that is far more dangerous is the people that get over here and don't think about risks. Because sometimes you see that and then they think, wait a second, what if somebody steals my idea? What are we going to do at this point? Or, wait, what if someone gets hurt? And that's kind of a problem too. Yeah. And at that point, once you've gotten here, you've done so much of that you have to make sure that you're monitoring it and making sure that if people get hurt, what is my cash reserve? How am I handling this? And what am I doing to fix it if that does happen?
And that's hard too, because when you're in between that idea and MVP phase, you feel super poor. Like it's just, there's no way to get out of that feeling. You just feel like you're totally underwater. And so, of course, you're thinking about all the risks. They are carrying much more weight, but you're not really making the connections maybe with the people or maybe with the tools that you need, so that by the time you get to the product market fit, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I have this already set up, You're just like in a panic mode kind of thing. We had that a lot. I worked at a startup in Berlin for 3 years, and I worked as their finance manager, and that was a company that was essentially trying to get all of the e-commerce shops that were independent from Amazon to come together and collectively work together so that they could leverage their services against Amazon. Amazon has a lot of good benefits, it's like a big platform, and they wanted to create the same thing, but then as like a more communist type setup. Anyways. And they had a lot of great technology to do it, and they were working with channel partners that made that really like conceivable that they would actually do that. And we were in this phase where we were, we had already had over €1 million invested in us, but we were still technically in between the idea and MVP phase because we were still creating MVPs. Like, we didn't have a product. We weren't selling something for money. Like, it was not a company yet. And so we had pages and pages of risks, and we were writing, to the investment banks of Berlin, to lawyers and everybody. But by the time we had finally gotten everything to work out, the MVP final version, 1,200, whatever, and we went to the market, started selling it, we started to face the biggest data security, which is why I brought that up, data security issues on the planet. And it was the biggest nightmare ever. And even though we had pages about the risks, we didn't have anybody to talk to about data security. Nobody. So we got declined a €1.5 million grant, which we could only apply for 1 year later. And you can imagine the liquidity problems that followed that. So yeah, that is a very true, real thing that happens too.
It happens a lot. You could be even over here and have that same cash problem because it happens at every stage, depending on those unexpected risks.
And I don't even think, for us, it was clear that you can be harmed in both terms of opportunity costs and actual revenue. So that's something that was also kind of a big eye-opener for me, is that, wow, okay, there was €1.5 million here at stake, and plus all of the different customers we planned to grow to 6,000 within the first year, which both of those things were then all of a sudden no longer possible until we could solve that issue.
So what motivates people to do?
I'm going to go with desperation or ambition.
Passion.
Okay.
Passion.
What else?
I like desperation too.
I like the scale.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll do it like that. Or I guess I can do it like this. I do fear.
There you go.
Yeah.
Control.
As I say, what word should be written?
Well, no. There's no better decider of your life than yourself.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What else? Mm-hmm. What motivates people at every stage? I mean, as you said, there was €1.5 million at stake,
Legacy.
and you already have the MVP.
I think legacy is a huge thing.
So how do you define that? I mean, if you're building something that's never been built before, what is a legacy?
I guess I define it as two things. Since I moved here, I almost want to define it as fame while you're alive, which seems more popular for America than it does in Germany. I mean, in Germany they don't really want it to be on the news, or they're not really into the big fame part of it. But I think more so for me, that definition has always been, when I die, my name is still around, my story is there being told on a larger scale.
So how is your story still being told if you have a startup?
Well, you mean if you don't get past the MVP phase?
If that's what motivates people from idea to MVP and beyond, what is the legacy that's being played there? I mean, if my motivation at this point is legacy.
First to market is a big legacy.
Okay.
So, I'm the one who invented this, that, and the other thing, or I'm the one who started doing that first. I was there before it was cool. So.
But isn't that sometimes a big risk too?
Absolutely.
Because if you're the first one to market, that market may not exist yet.
Yep.
I also met a CEO who was pretty young, and he said that he started his company because he wanted to make sure that there were jobs for people, because he saw that artificial intelligence and machine learning and robotics and all that stuff was taking over so many jobs. And he had this idea that if he could just employ enough salespeople, robots will never do sales because we want people to talk to us. that he would change the world by giving people jobs. It's like, okay, you know.
Well, I've been getting quite a few telemarketers to our AI enhanced robots.
Yeah, well, he's going to go against the grain on that and just, he's going to have to work with big people for that.
But those people can be your biggest risk.
But I think improving the world is, I mean, that goes right into passion, but making the world a better place could motivate you to do something. I mean, maybe you think something is terrible and you have a good opportunity to a good alternative.
Oh,
So.
purpose. That, like,
Passion,
that,
yeah.
that fits into
Mm-hmm.
What other motivators?
I think also there's this degree of adventure and exploration. So in many ways, society has led us to believe that working inside of companies, there's an image that we have in our mind of what that is like, you know, and what we've been taught and either what we've learned in school. But when it comes to entrepreneurship and startups and new businesses, it's like an exciting thing because a lot of people don't know. It's like big blank slate. They just don't know what's going to be written on that like white sheet of paper for them. And they feel like they are the ones who will carry that pen the whole way, even though that's not true at all. But at least in the beginning, you think, okay, I'm going to explore and I'm going to do that. I mean, I think more people should probably go into like, you know, what are those chambers called that mountain climbers go into and they train? The oxygen, like altitude chambers. Yeah, I feel like entrepreneurs should go into those before they start one of these, which you have done with your adventure course, with learning how to do, but a lot of people don't do that. So, but I think adventure is a big part of it.
And also, there's freedom. There's so much freedom in entrepreneurship, freedom to do whatever you want. I have infinite days of vacation. I just might have to work in Paris, so that's a big thing. And then one thing that's missing from your list, cash money.
So, but are you free?
Absolutely.
How do you define free?
I can do whatever I want whenever I want to.
But can you though? That's the question.
Absolutely. I might lose clients if I but that's all my choice. I mean,
I think that's really interesting because I'm working with a client now who has, in the beginning when he started his business, said, this is great, I'm free, I just get to work with whatever clients I want to work with, and I get to work with people I like.
yeah.
But now we're going through a bit of a crunch phase, and the business, over the course of the last couple of months, because we've grown it so much, has taken over him. So so that's kind of like the dangers of scaling. You know, you need to be really careful that you don't lose essentially that freedom to choose, because that's what happens to him now. Like if he doesn't pick up the phone, if he doesn't go to that meeting, if he doesn't, XYZ, he loses his customer.
Yep.
It goes back to values. Then.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's all. In my understanding, that's kind of a phase of scaling. Is you reach a point where you are so big and you're still doing everything all yourself, and you are busy and you're always working. That's about when you should start hiring help.
Well,
So.
and even after you've hired help, I think the big thing is for business owners to let go.
Yep.
So, and that's, I haven't really found a good way. Like, if I can figure that out, my business would be much more successful than it is now, because I feel like that's a huge thing, is that at the end of the day, of course, you want your business owners to focus, but you ultimately need them to let go and to trust. And that's super,
Yep.
super, super hard.
Well, it's their baby.
Yeah,
So.
it's like I have not found the hack for it. I mean, I have only gotten to that point with a client now just because of time. It's not because I had a special trick or some kind of magic business solution to it. It was really just time, relationship building, and I don't think everybody is going to have that person who has that time to invest that relationship to actually help another business scale. So there has to be a better way. I'm just not sure which way it's going to be yet. Yeah. But freedom, I don't know.
I would disagree with freedom. I think people start out thinking, cool, I'll be free, but then you are building something and you have a responsibility to that something and you feel a connection with it. To your point, it's a baby or whatever you want to view it as, you have an objective. And so your definition of free, I think, would change. And I think it would also change just being a lawyer, you're not free to do what you want when you want, unless you want to get sued. Great. If you're Uber and you've got the budget for it, awesome. But every other business owner who really wants to disrupt, then you have to be careful.
Well, I mean, if you want to do amazing things in a short amount of time, you're not going to be free to do whatever you want, whenever you want, but that's your choice. You are free to do whatever you want, whenever you want, but you're not going to, because you want to be, you want to do a lot of good things, so. You know, you can be responsible when you're free. It is possible.
But I think that there's different.
I'm just challenging you. It's okay.
Different types of
I know.
definitions there, and I would say you're still needing to be responsible over here, but it's a different level and commitment, especially as you have people.
Yes,
Distributors,
people
you
are.
have contracts, or you have legal obligations.
Once you have people, the game changes, because all of a sudden it's all about taking care of your people. If you want to have a good business, then your people are important, and if you do want to be able to delegate, you're gonna have good people, and you're gonna have smart people, and you're going to take care of them, because if they're smart, they won't be with you long if you don't take care of them. So
the name of this event was Disruptor Exchange.
Yep.
How do you define it?
Well, we're exchanging because we're all talking and stuff.
Right, but how do you define that word?
Disrupt?
Yep.
Doing something different, changing the market's expectations.
Yeah, I define it, so Peter Thiel wrote this book called 0 to 1 or N to 1, and basically what he talks about is the concept of going from an ice block to a refrigerator, and it's exactly that. So that innovation that is actually going beyond what people want or expect, and like Henry Ford said, if I were to ask people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. That
Yep.
is form of thought.
I mean, with my business and probably with yours, part of the battle is basically educating the market that they actually do need a different service than what they've gotten. I mean, half my job is re-engineering the expectations of the market.
Yeah, exercising a paradigm shift.
That's actually my goal for the whole Twin Cities, is to do that. Not just with the kind, but for entrepreneurship. And you guys all know that. So. But I'm crazy, so it's all right.
But I think that this word has cool connotations, where I'm just awesome because I'm a founder and I disrupt.
Yeah.
What do you actually do that disrupts, and what does it actually mean? Are you actually changing something, or are you just building something awesome? Are you building recurring revenue?
You are changing the market, I think, to disrupt. I mean, if you're doing something entirely different, that's not disruption. And if you're doing a Me Too, that's not disruptive, and just a little different, that's not disruptive. Instead of just offering a similar but different service that's different in some way or another, you're actually changing the market. It's not about you, it's about the market, it's about the people, and you're changing them. So.
It's about.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
about, you actually fundamentally have to shift the market.
Yeah.
So for us, it's not having a billable hour, just rejecting the entire pricing model and doing something different. Yes, our services are the same, delivered differently, but it's not about what we want as lawyers and making lawyers awesome and feeling awesome about it, but it's about what does the customer want. And they don't know what they want because they know what they're used to. And that's true in any market.
Yep.
I think it's kind of interesting that, we used to do it with products and services. We used to disrupt the market, and now we do it with business models. We disrupt it with business models. And I can't tell you when that started, but that's like...
What do you mean?
Like Uber. I mean, okay, yeah, they did disrupt in the sense that they said, okay, normal people with normal cars can then all of a sudden do this thing. But at the end of the day, it was their business model.
I read an article by Harvard Business Review that actually stipulated the Uber does not fit the rich definition of disruptive innovation.
I would agree. Because they're not actually changing anything. They're delivering a service in a slightly different manner.
They're just the eBay for auctions. So.
eBay for drivers.
Well, no, but yeah, there used to be auctions, and there were auctions,
Yeah.
and hey, there's eBay. So now there's auctions, but online. It's the same thing.
Well,
So.
like there's a Facebook now.
Yep.
No, it's
No.
15 years. It's cool. 'Cause
It's just a Me Too,
yeah.
but online. So.
So then it's not really disruptive if you have, like, Facebook is free, they generate a crazy profit, but it's free. So is that disruptive? Is that a disruptive business model? I feel like that's...
No, the fact that you're free is not a different business model. That just means it's a different pricing structure.
Yeah,
Pricing
that's
is
kind
not
of
a
go more
business
into,
model.
like,
So.
leveraging and less into disruption. Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying.
So we covered a lot. What do you think is next in these events? We all have a general sense of what it means to disrupt. We all think slightly different things. We can all cite examples of people who said they were disrupting, but actually doing the stuff that you have to disrupt not only from here to here, but all the way throughout. And
In meetings, I disrupt a lot.
exactly what you just did. That's a great example. Disrupting is not just being loud. It's but to that point, how do you feel that you could help the community by disrupting or through these events?
Okay, so the first thing that comes to my mind is in healthcare, there's just been a recent, I don't know if I would call it a disruption, but it's in that area where healthcare is being adopted and medical technologies are being adopted not based on price or less based on price and more based on the value that they're bringing, the longer term value for the hospitals and obviously the patients. And so even though that to like any normal person is totally the logical way to do it, it hasn't been like that for a very long time in the healthcare industry. And so for them to adopt this as of the last decade, and now really the crunch has really come in the last about 5 years, that I think is a huge thing that is going to have an enormous impact on our society, and it will help to treat healthcare less or make it a little bit less responsive. So we're not waiting for people to be sick, but we're responding proactively to people when they're actually healthy. So it's kind of this like synergy between that principle of leveraging value of a product and then also leveraging the fact that if our patients are healthy, obviously the hospital will have less costs, i.e. that will trickle down into many different other areas. So I think that's going to be a really big place and would be an interesting group of people to invite to these disruptor exchanges to talk about those challenges.
And how about a paradigm shift? So I mean,
That under change.
okay, because I mean, like you said, if we have a change in the medical industry right now, I mean, if we really do get good at preventative medicine, you're gonna have much lower hospital utilization, and sure, hospitals cost to be lower, but the revenue will be much lower too, and it's not going to be. Is that going to be perceived as good? I mean,
I think that they'll continue to look at profit margins, and I think that's what a lot of this focus has gone to, is less on revenue and less on just how to run a hospital like a business. Although, don't get me wrong, it's still thought of like that. This is going to take a really long time, but they're thinking more about profit margins, and that's kind of. And let me put it even more like this: they're thinking less about profit margins and more about people. That's what's like the interesting shift that's happening now. So yeah, and I think I was just trying to think of like maybe a negative disruptor. I don't know where to put my opinions on this. You guys probably all have your own opinions on this, but I almost feel like the e-commerce world is going to have a little bit of a negative disruption just in terms of the waste that is produced and the increase in ease of consuming is the inevitable side effect must be somehow waste, and I don't know if the waste is gonna, how much of it is gonna be digital and how much is it gonna be tangible waste, but either way, I can't see it ending well. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what your opinions are.
well, I personally think we're on a bubble with all the tech companies, but I'm hoping this time it'll just be one bubble. We'll pop one company at a time, so we don't have a recession.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me.
I would say market saturation.
Yep.
And if you truly want to disrupt, you're forcing change in that. And sometimes the disruptive force is not an entrepreneur, but it's an economic force or a political force or some other tangible force or social force that causes that. But if you're at this phase right here, you don't have to disrupt to get down there. You have to have a good idea, a passion, and have a value proposition. And then you have to be able to do at all those stages. And I think just getting doers is a big step. Getting people who show up, awesome.
Yep.
And getting people committed to doing something cool. Even if they're here, I think thinking about doing cool things is awesome. And if we can support people to do stuff, that's even better.
Yeah, and I went to a whole bunch of different entrepreneur and small business meetup groups recently, and something that I talked to a lot of people about is multiple income streams. So a lot of people, that's like the buzzword that was going around in most of these meetings is how do I generate multiple sources of income? And and there's a lot of different types of people doing a lot of different things. There's a lot of the Amways and Mary Kays in those groups, and it's it's a bit overwhelming to somebody who doesn't really want to be in that place. And I was thinking, there's this saying that if you are doing what you really like, then the side effect will be money. But you shouldn't pursue money, but it should just be a side effect if you like it. I almost feel like the multiple income streams thing should also be a side effect. So in other words, you're starting a business, you like what you do, or what you sell, or what you make, or whatever, and you are building that business, you're becoming more of an expert on whatever it is that you do, but also on building a business. And so you have your product, your company, but then you have the opportunity to teach, to educate, and then, hopefully in the long run, you have the opportunity to consult. And so it's kind of like this three-pronged system where you are going to have that side effect of multiple income streams in a more organic and, I don't want to use this word, it's so politically testy, but I'm going to use it, where you feel proud, where it can make you feel proud because you created that. You're not, selling somebody or reselling or doing whatever, the affiliate marketing and blog.
Referral fees.
Referral and multi-level marketing, whatever, all of those different things. So I feel like that should also be part of this whole conversation because that's one that I've talked to a couple of people about and made a big impact on it was like an epiphany. Like, oh, of course, it should be like that.
Because it's hard to be passionate about something somebody else is doing. Like being an entrepreneur, the whole point is I want to do this.
Yeah.
I want to do this, and I'm passionate about this. And sometimes your passion suffers because it is hard to do this stuff. But at the same time, doing it and being passionate about it and living in those trenches, that's how you can build those organically. You can't just, if you're going to open up a store and sell a bunch of stuff, cool. That's e-commerce. Cool.
Yep.
You make a lot of money? Awesome.
Yeah.
And I think, one thing that I'm kind of don't like is I'm going to call it the debaucheration of the word entrepreneur. It's a marketing term now. Entrepreneur doesn't mean anything. It just means you're a target. Good job.
Yeah.
So I don't like this. We are the Twin Cities entrepreneur community, and we support entrepreneurs, and that's all we say. We're going to be vague, and we're going to be cheerleaders of entrepreneurship.
I would contend that this word has the same.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
close to being there. If not, it's passe in that way.
Well, yeah. Unless it's like Disruptor Exchange. That's awesome.
Granted. But at the same time, I might as well be wearing a hoodie and say, I'm going to disrupt the world. Because that's effectively what it means.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess we have to also question or ask ourselves what kind of people are we trying to attract to these meetings. If we call it a Disruptor Exchange, and it will be really interesting to talk about those value drivers for the healthcare industry, maybe we should reconsider calling it, leveraging value inside the healthcare.
Well,
something more
so
black and white.
So I'm going to start having Haley while she's not in town to do research on different areas of the market. So find out where everyone hangs out online for healthcare. Find out where all the theater people are. Find out where all the fashion people are. That way I can talk to those people or have her do it or whatever and just get more involved in the community, each different aspect of the community. So, because I do want to unite all the different industries into one very passionate movement. And that's coming in the near future.
What I think
Stay
is,
tuned.
yeah,
Yes.
what I think is kind of nice is that on that idea to do step, and then even the step after that, I feel like it's really lonely. Like it's a super, super lonely job and a lonely place to be. And so I kind of like the idea of having this Disruptor Exchange or whatever you want to call it, and then having like the Disruptor Awards, because it creates a community of people that can really push you when you're maybe not feeling like, oh, you know, maybe I can't do this, or no matter, you know, if you are passionate about your project, but the risks are overwhelming. You just can't get past them. You know that you should, but there's just that day where you just can't, and then you miss out on an important meeting or something. I don't know. I could give a lot of examples for that.
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the Disruptor Awards are going to be awards for members of the business community who really change the culture into really making it more exciting to be a small business owner, to be in the Twin Cities and to be here doing things and changing it. I mean, doing all this stuff here on the board, just making a difference in everyone's life. And that's what it's going to do. There'll be awards for different categories and different kinds of ways of change. So, different business types even, different industries, whatever it is, ETA 2018, so we'll see. But,
well, it'd be kind of cool to get like a couple of businesses in a very specific industry together, and then, you know, define their success, or like hear what they define as their success, have those goals written down, and then see, you know, in the course of, I don't know, a quarter or half a year, or maybe you want to do it a bit longer, just see where they got and how those goals changed and how they changed, and, you know, who experienced the most change and how influential was it to their business, to their learning, and what did they, like, nugget did they take with them to share with other people, and how much value did other people get from that nugget. And then from that, kind of determine, oh, okay, so this company or person wins the Disruptor Award.
Yeah.
For that, like, because it's a heavy journey, and okay, the reward is, you know, being able to have your own company, and but yeah, I don't know, just like reducing the loneliness of that process, and then also challenging that owner to really go beyond, you know, like, it's kind of cliche or whatever, but when my parents tell me, no, you can do better, I do better. I try harder, you know? And so, but I needed them to say it. I wouldn't have done it if they didn't say it, or if my friend said, you know, you can do so much better or whatever, you know? I think that everybody reaches a point where they just need somebody to say, come on, I see more in you, you know? And then you push yourself harder.
Way to jump the gun on the Disruptor Awards.
Well, good. I think this was a good discussion, and I think the answer is people just need to do more and be supported, and to have more outlets in which they can do those things.
Yep.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna switch back to me.
Get out of their head.
Well, that was the first Disruptor Exchange, and we are wrapping up, but thank you all so much for watching. Have a good night.